Our host this morning for Ask the Expert. Happy to be joined in studio by our guest this morning from Heritage Bank, the Director of Enterprise Risk. We have Kelly Pickle. Good morning, Kelly.
Good morning, Eric.
Thank you so much for being here.
Yeah.
Well, if it's anybody out there listening that's like me, I saw this Director of Enterprise Risk. I had never heard that before. So maybe you could share with our listeners exactly what that is.
Sure. So there's risk in everything we do, right?
Mm-hmm.
Like when you're coming to work, you're going to decide if you're going to go the speed limit or if you're more comfortable going less than the speed limit, or you're going to push it and go over the speed limit. In banking, we deal with risk too.
Sure.
In everything we do, there's risk. But in banking, we deal with, for instance, cyber risk and compliance, or the rules and regulations, or credit risk, fraud, like what we're going to talk about today.
Yeah.
And so I oversee a group of professionals that we're tasked with making sure that we know and understand what our risks are today and in the future. So we do a lot of speculative talk and
Sure.
try to figure out what's coming down the pike. What do we need to be aware of so that we can put the bumpers in place before they cause problems?
And like you said, ever evolving. It's always changing.
Absolutely.
Right.
Yeah.
And a very timely topic, I think, today. Like there's not a day or a week that goes by we don't hear something in the news talking about fraud or something new that's coming.
Yeah.
Things that are unimaginable sometimes.
Absolutely. Yeah.
All right. So let's get right to our topic today. Maybe you could talk about a little bit about what measures does Heritage Bank take to protect customers from fraud and cyber threats?
Yeah, so there's nothing more important to Heritage Bank than protecting our customers' money and their information. So there's a lot of things that we do to protect them. Mm-hmm. Banking is heavily regulated, and there's a lot of rules, regulations around what we need to do for protecting our customers' information from cyber threats and from fraud. So we have a group of professionals, IT professionals, that they're tasked with making sure that we've got programs in place. We deal with IT firms and security firms also that help us with that. They're the experts in those things, and they have a lot of foresight into what's going on in the world. We're also constantly upgrading and updating our banking programs and our servers. We've got advanced encryption so that we can make sure that data is secure, whether it's in transit or in storage. We've got good firewalls, basic things like that. We provide a lot of training to our team members also, including how to spot phishing emails, because that's something that can easily happen, and it just takes one, right? We also require strong passwords when accessing programs, right? Because we've got access to really critical information, and so we strong passwords, upper, lowercase letters, numbers, special characters, something that should be difficult for somebody to guess. And then we also require our team members to store their passwords in a virtual password locker instead of on a Post-it note stuck into the keyboard, right?
Like many of us do, yeah.
Yeah. So we also have quality assurance processes to make sure that we've got monitoring programs, and then audits. We have audits. We're required to be audited, where we hire professionals to come in and see, are we doing what we need to do? Are we doing what we say we're going to do? And make sure that we don't have any vulnerabilities. And then we also provide customer education. That's really important because we can do part of it, but it's also on our customers to help keep their information safe. And so one of the things that we do is we ask customers to set up security questions with us. So like if they're going to call in, we can ask them a security question that hopefully only they know the answer to. So we can help ensure that we're talking to the right person.
Well, that's super. Earlier you talked about speculation. Maybe we could go into how Heritage Bank stays ahead of the new security threats, kind of looking ahead in the financial industry.
Yeah. So most of the people at Heritage are subscribed to a variety of newsletters that they also belong to risk management organizations that are on a variety of different topics. We're, again, constantly doing training for our team members. Plus, we all have a virtual Rolodex of contacts that we can bounce questions off of, get ideas from. And we get emails every day that talk about layered controls or what other organizations are doing, or organizations that have had breaches or ransomware situations, so that we can, unfortunately, learn from others, right? There's, so I know I personally get like a dozen emails every day on different cyber fraud topics. So there's a lot of information out there.
Stay ahead of that.
Yeah.
Sometimes we have to go through other people's misfortune to learn how to handle it, unfortunately.
Yeah, exactly.
All right. How does the bank monitor for fraud? What should customers do if they see something unusual, something that doesn't look quite right? What should they do?
Yeah. So it's really a two-prong approach. There are things that we can do, but again, we need our customers to be aware. So we have some automated systems that run in the background to look for anomalies, for activity that, when paired with other types of activity, could indicate that there may be some fraud. For example, somebody does an address change and then immediately turns around and orders a debit card, which is a common tactic for scammers to use. And so we have processes in place to manage those types of situations. But when it comes to fraudulent deposits and withdrawals, we don't know what's been authorized by our customers. So that's where the customer piece really comes in. It's really important that people are monitoring their account activity. And of course, we have technology that can help customers do that. So we have our digital banking, which can be done on a PC or on a mobile app. And then they can look at their statements, make sure that they're keeping aware of what's coming in and out of their accounts. And then we also offer alerts. So when something does come in, you don't have to be glued to your phone all the time. You can get alerted that there's activity. Yeah, so it notifies you when something is happening. The most important thing, though, is if somebody determines that there's some questionable activity, or they're just not sure what is happening on their account, that they need to let us know right away. We can look at it and we can help them determine if there's a problem with it or not, because then we can help stop it.
Right. And I would say time is important for that.
Absolutely. And that's why we really encourage people to use digital banking.
Right. And no such thing as a dumb question. It could be a legitimate purchase, but make sure you're ahead of it. Right.
Absolutely. We sometimes see, for instance, the purchase might be made locally, but it might be a national company. And so the purchase actually shows up as a different state. Well, we can research that and help say, oh, yeah, no, this was your actual purchase.
Well, that's good. Yeah, you always want to be sure. How does Heritage Bank ensure online and mobile banking security? I know that's important.
Yeah. So first of all, it starts with the secure mobile app or the secure digital banking platform. Again, we work with a reputable company to help us ensure that. And they have controls in place. We have controls in place. Again, that encryption, that is important for when information or data is in transit, and then firewalls. And then multi-factor authentication, which is a combination of something the user knows and something the user has or is. And then real-time fraud monitoring uses machine learning to determine what's normal for the user. It runs in the background. We're not looking at it all the time. It just runs in the background. And then if something unusual does pop up, then we get notified. And then we also try to do a lot of customer awareness training.
That's good, yeah. I know this is a big thing here, like even at the radio station, is the multi-factor authentication becoming very common. What role does that play in protecting the customer's accounts? Like, how does that exactly work?
Yeah, it's really, really important in protecting customer information and in protecting everybody's information, right? Again, we don't know if someone is logging into their accounts, if that's legitimate. And so we just, like our team, we ask our customers to use multi-factor authentication. In fact, we require it for digital banking. So the reason is because some people use really terrible passwords. Right. The top worst passwords are like password, 1 2 3 4 5 6, or 1 2 3 1 2 3, or all ones, right? So those just are not secure passwords. So even if someone is using a non-complex password, which nobody should, right? Multi-factor authentication still requires something outside of the program that the user has access to. So it could be something, again, that the user has, such as a text. You get a text message, which is coming from a different program than your digital banking program. Or you can get a phone call. or it is something that the person is, such as your thumbprint or fingerprint or facial recognition. So those are things that are outside of the program that you're logging into. And it might be one more step, but multi-factor authentication isn't something that's required to make it inconvenient for our customers. It's to make it inconvenient or impossible for the scammer, because they don't have access to your thumbprint.
Right.
They don't have access to your face or your text solutions. So it's it's designed to make it difficult for the bad actors.
Well, that's super. Yeah, those technologies have come a long way in the last several years.
They have.
Which is thankful. Yeah, thankful.
Absolutely.
All right. Well, I've heard more and more young people, especially my own kids, talking about how they keep their money in their Venmo accounts or things like that. Is there any risk to that?
There is, actually, yeah. They're super convenient for paying people, right? But first and foremost, they're not FDIC insured.
Sure.
So banks are FDIC insured, and this is not a bank. They're not required to be FDIC insured. So if something were to happen to that business, if they were to go out of business, you are not likely to get your money back, or there's a strong likelihood you won't get your money back. Also, those apps are in a single name only. So if something happens to you on your way home from work, and then your family, is going to have a hard time getting your money out of that app.
The beneficiary.
Absolutely. We take care of that on the bank side of things, so that if you are in a car accident, you're taken care of, but those apps don't do that.
That's interesting to know. Yeah, those are very, very popular, especially with the young group.
Absolutely, yeah.
All right, well, how does Heritage Bank support elderly customers and others vulnerable to financial scams? This is a big thing in the news right now.
It is. It really is. Yeah. And we have the best customers, right? And because we see and talk to them frequently, we get to know them and their families, and we just want to help them be successful, whatever that means to them. So when something unusual is going on, one of the easiest things for us to do to help our customers is just to have a conversation with them. Again, we're not trying to intrude in their life, but we see a lot of things, a lot of different types of scams, and the scammers are really good. They're really convincing. And even the smartest people fall victim to scams. So it's not that people are not intelligent, it's that the scammers are really good, and they just know how to play on people's emotions.
Right.
So having those conversations with us, we can help our customers determine if they're actually the victim of a scam, or if somebody receives a check or is asked to send money, especially crypto. Crypto is currency, really is a really big payment method these days in scams. So if you're being asked to do something, to bring somebody, and to not tell your friends or not tell the bank what it is that you're doing or why you're doing it or who asked you, have those conversations with us. Again,
red flag.
If it's legitimate, we're not going to stand in your way. We won't stand in your way. It's your money, right? But we want to help you. And so having that conversation, just asking us the question, just gives us the opportunity to help you look at that and maybe some other things to consider. We also do some special social media posts to help, again, educate our customers on some of the different scams, just to raise awareness. Scams are it's one of the most helpless feelings that we have. And so if we can help customers, even if you're not a customer of Heritage Bank, we invite you to come in and ask us those questions. We want to help you.
Right. And so many of these things happen in like a blink of an eye, right?
Absolutely. Yeah, but some of them are perpetrated across a long period of time also, and they just continue to build and build and build, and some of them are threatening to consumers. They'll say, if you don't do this, the sheriff's going to show up at your door, or any kind of critical things or serious.
They include IRS and things.
Absolutely, yeah. Yeah.
So what do you think? Is it safer to use big banks than smaller regional community banks?
Yeah, safety is really important to everybody, right?
Yeah.
I mean, I always say there's two things you never mess with. You never mess with a person's family. You don't mess with their money.
Right.
Right?
Yep.
So in this case, we're talking about financial and information security. Everyone has a different perspective on big bank versus community bank, but I can tell you that all banks are required to follow the banking rules and regulations and have effective controls in place, including cyber controls. And community banks, we might not be the first to offer the latest and the greatest bells and whistles for customer services, but I think community banks are better able to build relationships with our customers because we're more focused on our communities, and we can help customers. We can be more attentive to those customer relationships, and offer quicker resolutions to issues. And I think at Heritage Bank, we do a really good job of offering that personal service while also making available the digital banking tools that our customers want and really want.
Well, that's super.
Yeah.
Well, thank you so much, Kelly Pickle, today, the Director of Enterprise Risk at Heritage Bank. Thank you so much, Kelly.
Yeah, thank you.